Hey, good afternoon. My name is Rob Flynn. I'm here with my dad.
And I'm Robert Flynn.
Right now, we're just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, in the town of Wellesley.
I was born in Amsterdam, New York in July of 1930, actually on the 22nd, which is tomorrow. My mother was Florence Degnan, and her father was Robert Degnan. He actually was a lumberjack in the Dollsville, New York area. Somehow he got to Philadelphia. And in Philadelphia, he got into the dental school.
So we went from lumberjack to dentist?
Yes. He ended up in Gloversville, a thriving small town, and he had a practice in the Kingsborough Hotel in Gloversville, and he was very successful. And that's where I spent my entire growing up. So I left for college in 1948. Where I started to college was St. Bonaventure University for 2 years, and at the end of my sophomore year, I was asking my mother where I might get a summer job. She said, I know a Monsignor Finn, and he said, RCA, NBC, is just starting a television network. I went down to New York, had an interview with the head of technical operations, and I ended up getting a job. In the summer of 1950, I started work in New York City. I was in technical operations as part of the studio crew. My first show was Howdy Doody, and my career had been launched. I ended up spending the next 40 years at NBC. I was always able to get into different areas. I was in technology, I was in news, I was in sports, and I found it all very fascinating because television was just beginning. We only had a handful of stations in the beginning, and then we made it a national network. And I was right there in the beginning. I was there in Cape Canaveral for the Apollo 11 launch. I was in charge of the foreign broadcasters at that time. So I was down with Eisenhower when he had his heart attack in Georgia. As we began to get more sophisticated technology, color television was one of the big features that they were trying to sell. And so we did a very big job trying to find programs that would help promote color TV. So we did a lot of entertainment shows in New York City. A few years after starting at NBC, the Korean War came. I was drafted. So I was in the Navy for 3.5 years. I was at sea almost all the time.
That was in the Caribbean, though, right?
Yes.
Not awful.
My dad was coming down with a severe case of cancer, and because of that fact, they stationed me in New London so I would be able to visit my dad on weekends. My job was working on the submarines. Not exactly my cup of tea, but that's what I did. What I was doing is crawling inside the submarine doing various electronic work. When I returned, I was assigned to the Today Show. Since I was working on the Today Show, it gave me the opportunity, since I was done work shortly after lunch, it gave me a chance to at least consider picking up the missing 2 years of my college degree. I did that by going to Fordham. They had a downtown branch, and I would go down there and take classes. I was able to get my degree in 2 years and working full-time. At NBC, I got involved in a job which was called unit manager, which is really the business manager for certain productions. And I did this on the game shows because we had game shows all over the place to fill airtime. I was on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. I was on that for a number of years. Through the contacts of the Tonight Show, I was able to buy a diamond ring, which I then presented to my wife, Nancy, and we still have it. My wife has passed last year on August 1st. One of my assignments was to go and cover the Democratic Convention in Chicago in 1968. It was basically a riotous convention. It was scary to get from the convention center to my hotel room because there were street fights going on all over the place. A scene that I won't forget.
You're living in Pleasantville at this time now, or?
Yes, the commuter railroad, Metro North, was a very busy railroad, and it was not well run. The cars had some holes in the floor so you could see the track bed underneath.
Very third world.
So it was certainly a very poorly run railroad, but I did it every day. I usually caught the train at 7 o'clock in the morning and would usually catch the 6 o'clock train coming home at night. One of the guys that was in Studio 6B, and it was Milton Berle. Milton was a very, very foul-mouthed individual. He was easily upset, and stemming from that was a lot of frustration that he vented rather freely. Didn't appear to be a very nice man, but he was quite successful.
So we've been through the NBC years, retired in basically 1990.
In 87, I came down with prostate cancer and required radical surgery to take care of that. In 1997, I had to have cardiac surgery. They had to put in 5 grafts due to the blockages. I was able to get through that pretty well. In 2007, I had to have my aortic valve replaced. I was able to get through that and continue on. I've been very fortunate in my life for many things, not only my job, which I loved, my family, which I love, and health concerns that were dealt with successfully.